What is research? When you think of research, you may picture a chemist wearing goggles in a lab, a reporter surveying people on the street, or an author poring over books in a library. All of these activities are research, but the chemist and the reporter are doing what we call primary research, also known as empirical research. Primary research creates new knowledge using hands-on methods like laboratory experiments or surveys. Primary researchers in academic settings usually publish their results in papers in scholarly journals. By contrast, the author in the library is doing what we call secondary research, also known as library research. Secondary research involves analyzing existing documents to find new patterns. Secondary researchers in academic settings usually publish their findings in something called a literature review, which also gets published in a scholarly journal. Frequently, you'll find both types of research in the same scholarly paper. Researchers will conduct secondary research to find gaps in existing knowledge. Then, they'll conduct primary research to fill those gaps. Therefore, you'll usually find a literature review at the beginning of a scholarly paper that also includes a new study with methods and results. However, a literature review can also stand alone as its own paper. You may have heard of primary and secondary sources. Don't confuse primary and secondary sources with primary and secondary research. Primary sources are documents created at the time of an event by someone who is there to witness it. Primary researchers do create primary sources because they were present when the research was conducted, but primary sources can also be created without research. For example, a personal diary is a primary source created without conducting primary research. Secondary sources are documents created by someone who wasn't present during an event. Secondary researchers do create secondary sources because they write about existing information on a topic, information that they did not have a hand in creating. However, secondary sources can also be created without research. For instance, you can write an opinion article on a topic and it would be considered a secondary source. We use the terms primary and secondary to describe different types of research. We can also describe research as quantitative, qualitative, or mixed methods. The word quantitative comes from the word quantity, which refers to a number or amount. It's based on the Latin word quantus, meaning how much. Quantitative research depends on numerical data. Researchers frequently collect quantitative data using specialized instruments like microscopes or thermometers. Analyzing quantitative data usually requires the use of statistical methods. The word qualitative comes from the word quality, which refers to a feature or standard. It's based on the Latin word qualis, meaning what kind. Qualitative research depends on more abstract data, like words or images. Researchers frequently collect qualitative data using written instruments like open-ended survey questions or audiovisual tools like video recordings of personal interviews. Analyzing qualitative data usually involves looking for themes or patterns within a collection of documents, recordings, or images. When a researcher uses both quantitative and qualitative methods, we call it mixed methods. For instance, a pharmaceutical company studying a new drug might track changes in experimental subjects' blood pressure, which is quantitative, but also ask them to describe changes in their mood, which is qualitative. So, to recap, primary research creates new knowledge, whereas secondary research analyzes existing knowledge. You frequently find both in the same scholarly paper. Primary and secondary research are not the same as primary and secondary sources. We can also describe research as quantitative if it uses numerical data, or qualitative if it uses words and images, or mixed methods if it uses both. Your instructor might ask you to find articles about a specific type of research, so it's useful to know these distinctions. And remember, if you have any questions about research, you can always ask a librarian for help.